In the early 2000s, the gaming world was changing.
For the first time, let me now unveil Xbox.
Consoles were growing more powerful, and developers were pushing the boundaries of realism. And the players were beginning to demand more than just run and gun action. Amid this evolution came a game that didn't just raise the bar of stealth, it redefined how players thought about visibility, sound, and consequence. That game was Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, released in 2002 by Ubisoft Montreal. Before they lost their soul. Although it followed in the footsteps of earlier stealth titles like Metal Gear Solid and Thief, Splinter Cell brought something uniquely its own, a cold, calculating realism. It was a methodical, meticulous, and grounded in tactical ethos of Tom Clancy's military fiction. If you weren't an unstoppable action hero, you were a covert operative working in the dark, where one wrong move could compromise an entire mission. What set Splinter Cell apart wasn't just the genre, it was how it made a stealth a system, and not just a feature. The most revolutionary aspect of Splinter Cell was how it turned light and shadow into core gameplay mechanics. It wasn't just about dimly lit corridors or flashlight wielding guards. The game featured a dynamic lighting engine that was practically unheard of on consoles at the time, particularly on the Xbox, which the game was originally optimized for. I have the PS2 version. Bite me, I don't care, I'll live and die. Shadows move realistically, light sources could be destroyed to create darkness, and most importantly, enemies would only spot you if you're actually visible in the light. So we'd be out here shooting out lights and light bulbs, you can thank Splinter Cell for that, boyo. This wasn't just a visual trick, the player had to think like a shadow. The game included a visibility meter that let you track how exposed you were, whether crouched behind a generator or hanging off a wall or somewhere. This meant every room became a puzzle, every encounter a tactical decision. In a way, Splinter Cell turned you into a light designer, sculpting your own path through illumination and obscurity. Before Splinter Cell, light in games was often purely just aesthetic. Here it became a weapon, one you could both wield and fall victim to. It forced players to slow down, to analyze every light source, and respect the visibility system as something that could make or break an operation. Few games had ever done that so convincingly. But Splinter Cell nailed it, baby. That's why it's still one of my favorite games. I'll tell you, oh gee whiz. Equally groundbreaking was the game's use of sound as a stealth mechanic. While many games had basic noise systems, guards reacting to loud gunfire or footsteps, Splinter Cell created an entire acoustic ecosystem. Sam Fisher, OG GOAT, moved in ways that created variable amounts of noise depending on the surface type, posture, and speed. Crouching on carpet was quiet, walking on metal grates was like ringing a dinner bell for enemy patrols. If there was rain pouring or a machine humming, you could use it as audio cover. This meant the environment wasn't just a backdrop, it was a partner in your stealth approach. Learning to move with the rhythm of the world around you became an essential skill. This introduced a psychological dimension to the gameplay. Players began to listen, not just dialogue or music, but the game itself. It's probably where sound whoring came from. Everybody sitting there, your buddy sitting on the other side of the mic. He's on left stairs, he's on left stairs, he's coming up, he's coming up, he's coming up, he's coming through the windows, coming through the windows, upstairs, he's right there, he's right here. Where most action games equip players with high-powered rifles and explosives, Splinter Cell gave you something more interesting. Gadgets that rewarded intelligence and precision. They used big brain. The game encouraged, in many cases, required non-lethal solutions. I gotta tell you, there are so many missions on this game where it says you can't kill anybody, and I accidentally kill somebody, and I gotta do the whole thing over again. It's a hassle. But I tell you, that's the good stuff about the game. Your tool belt included sticky cameras, gas-emitting distractions, electric shockers, EMP grenades, and an optic cable to peek under doors before opening. But these tools weren't just gimmicks, it became solutions to environmental and tactical problems. Can't risk shooting the guard? Distract them with a thrown object. Throw the rock, you know how many games you play in Far Cry, you throw the rock to distract the guy? That's from Splinter Cell, I'm pretty sure. We're gonna say, but if it wasn't, I'm gonna say it was from Splinter Cell, that's what we're doing. Need to clear a hallway without being seen? Use a sticky camera to scout ahead or create some noise. I gotta tell you, oh man, So good. You just don't run in there and blast everybody. You actually got to think about what you're doing. Oh man. The design philosophy to redefine what power looked like in a stealth game. Power wasn't about domination, it was about control. It was about understanding the environment better than your enemies did, and using your tools surgically, not explosively. The game made you feel clever, not because of brute strength, but because you outsmarted the system. And another revolutionary idea introduced was the concept that failure didn't mean dying. It meant being seen. In many missions, triggering an alarm or killing a guard would result in immediate failure. This raised the stakes beyond the usual health bar. It forced players to respect stealth as the only viable option, not just an alternate playstyle. This also created a different kind of tension. In most shooters, the tension comes from surviving in combat. In Splinter Cell, the tension came from avoiding it entirely. It created a unique emotional loop. Silence became your victory. The absence of chaos became your goal, and the fear of being detected was more powerful than any boss fight. This gave players a different relationship with their own agency. You weren't encouraged to see how many enemies you could kill, you were encouraged to leave no trace at all. It was a radical shift in player mindset, and one that would go on to influence future stealth and immersive sim titles for years like Hitman. Oh man, I love Hitman, I tell you what. Hitman, Splinter Cell, and Sly Cooper. These are some of my favorite stealth games. I tell you what, you know what? I'll throw a bone to Far Cry because there's a stealth option. It's okay. And, Dishonored is also good, but we call Dishonored Cat on a Hot Tin Roof around these parts. Sam Fisher wasn't just a floating camera. He was a body in the world. And Splinter Cell made that obvious. Ubisoft created a contextual animation system that allowed Sam to move in incredibly human ways, slowly opening doors, hugging walls, peeking around corners, hanging from ledges, climbing pipes, and even performing his signature split jump between narrow walls and perch above enemies. I know we all be doing this on the hallway, jumping and climbing and shimmying up there with both your feet. The fluidity of the movement made the player feel like a real operative. You weren't just pointing and clicking, you were physically present. This added to the immersion and made every action feel deliberate. When you cleared a room, it felt earned. When you sneaked past 3 guards without being seen, it felt like a triumph of both planning and execution. Sneaky boy. Most importantly, Splinter Cell wasn't just a stealth game. It was a stealth philosophy. It enforced an ethic of non-lethality, of minimalism, and precision. It made stealth feel serious, adult, and meaningful. It asked players to play with purpose. This influenced not just its own sequels, but a broader genre shift. Games like Hitman, Blood Money, Dishonored, Deus Ex Human Evolution, and even The Last of Us borrowed mechanics and philosophies rooted in Splinter Cell. Ubisoft itself reused code and design principles for its Assassin's Creed series, showing how deeply the game's DNA was spread across the company's catalog, and then they would take Assassin's Creed and then they bastardize it and turn it into a mockery. A shame of its former self. No, it's okay. You know, they're good games, to each their own, but it's not my favorite. Like, I got a couple Assassin's Creeds on the shelf over there. I'll go get them. Hold on. Now look, these are just the ones I got on 360, dog. I got most of them on PlayStation, digital downloads, you know, the way of the future and all that. And these are my Splinter Cells. I had Chaos Theory, but I gave it to a friend. I'm gonna get it again. I'll buy it, I swear. I had that wire in front of me this whole entire time, jeez. Splinter Cell was a technical showpiece, particularly for the original Xbox. At a time when the PlayStation 2 was dominating the market, Ubisoft partnered with Microsoft to make Splinter Cell an Xbox exclusive for several months, which didn't matter to me because I didn't know what an Xbox was. I think the first Xbox game I ever saw was like Halo 3. And then I was like, oh my god, what's that? And that was on Xbox 360, so I didn't even know what a regular Xbox was. I'm getting sidetracked here. It boasted real-time lighting, advanced shaders, volumetric fog, and high-resolution character models that stunned audiences and critics alike. They're like, oh my god, that's crazy. This is on the PS2 and on the Xbox. But it wasn't just marketing. The game truly looked a generation ahead. Like, it's 2002. Like, what else came out in 2002? Hold on. Grand Theft Auto Vice City came out in 2002. That's good. Kingdom Hearts came out in 2002. Okay, cool. Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind came out in 2002. These are really good games. But anyways, Splinter Cell didn't shout. It whispered. And in doing so, it changed the way games spoke to their players. It took bold risks with light, sound, and consequence. It trusted players to be methodical. It respected silence as much as action. It elevated stealth from secondary mechanic to a fully realized experience. In years that followed, stealth would become a respected genre in its own right, but it was Splinter Cell that showed how powerful it could be. A game where being unseen was the ultimate expression of mastery. A game where failure wasn't death, but exposure. And a game that proved sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is turn out the lights.